Good morning, all, or happy lunchtime to my friends in South Downs and others living in the future. And welcome to Kalbardr's Corner, this episode of Coffee with Kalbardr. I am Lord Kalbardr Geiler, companion of the Meridian Cross, companion of the Argent Comet, companion of the Argent Lamp, Osprey, and Reaper, coming to you live, as always, from the Barony of the Osprey on the southern coast of Meridians. So since the show is coffee-themed, today's coffee of choice is Hazelnut Cream by New England Coffee. Also, it sounds like I'm losing my voice, so if I crack out during this or start getting snuffly, that's why. So just bear with me. All right, so now the introductions are out of the way, what is today's topic? And then we'll actually some backstory for today's topic. So the topic is, what is Fealty? And I figured it was only fair that I answer this question on my stream, since I pitched it to the cast of Between Two Peers for their stream, specifically the one a week or so ago with Duke Thorfinn. And it led to some very heated discussion. Well, I can't say heated discussion, very passionate discussion about the topic, both in the show, during the show with Helga and Tulia and Thorfinn, but also in the post-show chat and on the Discord. So I figured something I should pitch my opinion on and see what thoughts are out there in the world. And, oh, I forgot I have green on my shirt. Oh well. All right, we'll be slightly blurry today, guys. So sorry with that. All right, so there's actually two parts to this question. There is the what is fealty, because that's a definable word. Words have meanings, and whereas those meanings do change and context does matter, it's still definable. Then there's the what does it mean in the SCA, and what does it mean to me? So first, the definition. This is from dictionary.com. There's a couple of variations of this, but it seems to be the fairly common one. So the obligation or the engagement to be faithful to a lord, usually sworn to by a vassal. Okay. The one just from Google says a feudal tenant's or vassal's sworn loyalty to a lord, or a formal acknowledgement of the loyalty of the lord. So, obviously, we don't. I mean, let me fix that. We swear fealty in the SCA. Most of us do. A lot of us do. We collectively, and it is to the person or to the crown. Crown, big C crown, little C crown, depending on how you look at it. And there's a lot of controversy around this. There's a lot of people who won't swear fealty, don't swear fealty, can't swear fealty. And that's actually caused problems for some people that I know of. And that's why I brought it up, because the reasons people do or don't is interesting and really got me thinking. So what does it mean to me? What does fealty within the SCA mean to me? What does fealty mean to me? So fealty in general to me is I think follows the definition. It is an acknowledgement of a loyalty to a thing. And I'm backing that up to be not just lord, lord in this case being the owner of land or person in charge, but to a concept or to a place, I think can be just as applicable. I think generally the fealty applied to the Lord because that's when it was used, and it is a two-part thing. So I can't swear fealty to my lamp because the lamp can't return that. It only does what it does, and that is a concrete thing. It does what it does because I provide it with things, which is actually an interesting metaphor, but that's a sort of a tangent. Whereas swearing fealty to our crown or to the kingdom, that thing, the crown or kingdom in this case, are able to reciprocate. And they're able to give part of that back, or they're able to swear fealty in return. So those in the SCA, or those who don't, or maybe aren't in the SCA watching, when I'm talking about fealty, so every reign, we swear an oath in Meridians, and other kingdoms do as well, that goes, oh, so I can do this on camera now. I, Kalbardr Geiler, do hereby serve fealty and service to the crown of Meridies, to speak and to be silent, to do and to let be, to come and to go in need and in plenty, in peace and in war, in living and in dying, from this hour henceforth, till my Lord release me, death take me, or the world end. And then the crown has a response, and I think that's the important part of this. Is if I said that to my lamp right now, the lamp would go, okay, I'm a lamp. Cool, what do you want? But when I say those words to the crown responds, I, King of Meridies, I, Queen of Meridies, hear and shall not forget that which is freely given. Fealty with love, valor with honor, and oath breaking with justice. Used to be vengeance, by the way, which is interesting. A little bit interkingdom anthropology for those out there. So used to the actual more common phrasing when I was in the SCA 10 years ago was an oath breaking with vengeance. Recently, the phrase oath breaking with justice has become more common, and I like it because vengeance is anger with no purpose. It is unbridled, just literally vengeance for vengeance sake. It is revenge. Justice is a much more tempered response to a negative action. So I like that. So those of you out there who do the oath that are crowns things, use justice. It's a much more fitting thing. Anyways, so the fact that the crown has a response to me, I think is an important part of this conversation. So let's look at that. So to speak and to be silent, to do and to let be. That's the two pieces. The rest of it is conditional to location. In peace and in war, and living and dying, from this hour henceforth, right? So peace and in war, that's our two states. We're either at peace or we're at war. And I don't care whether you're talking about within yourself. Anybody who's watched my show with Sir Helga can speak to that. But also, like, if we're at war as a kingdom or we're at war as a country or whatever. And then living and dying, okay, clearly, like you're living or dying. There's a sort of a binary state there. But I also think that's you could relate that back to whether you're active in playing the SCA or not, like, whether you're at an event or not at an event, living and dying, like you can sort of stretch that to that. But those first two parts are the important part. So it's the things you're swearing to do: to speak and to be silent, and to do and to let be. And we talk about the first one a lot. A lot of times when you talk to peers or people who swear fealty, and we'll get into the who swears fealty and why in a second. But speak and be silent gets brought up a lot from both directions. Being silent when they want to speak, or speaking when they want to be silent. And that's an interesting thing to look at. Because I think I have the problem. I speak when I should be silent. Also, best mug. All right. So the question is, what does fealty to mean? And then we'll discuss about what it is in the SCA. So to me personally, fealty is my swearing of allegiance to the crown. And I'm air quoting crown because when I swear fealty to the symbol and representation of my kingdom. And to me, that is the game. They are the representation of the dream, of the game we play, of the thing that is the better medieval ages or Middle Ages. So when I swear, so our current crown in Meridia is Tim and Ismay, and they're lovely people. I have no problem with Tim and Ismay as crown. They are both really great people, but they're just people. Like we both go to work Monday morning. We both have hobbies. Like it's Tim and Stephanie. Like that's a thing. But Tim and Ismay are the epitome, they are the symbol now of this dream. And that's what I'm swearing fealty to. That's what I'm promising to uphold. I'm promising to uphold those tenets of chivalry. I'm promising to uphold the medieval world that we all live in. And so that only now applies to them as the symbol of that, but also to the kingdom, into the people. And their response to me is, as representatives of that kingdom or of the dream, they are responding to, within their power, because they do have power within the SCA, to do as much as they can to maintain that as well, and to help me maintain that, or when I don't, to then take action against me or whoever. Now, clearly we've all failed at that at some point. I think we've all done or let be inappropriately. We've all spoken and been silent inappropriately. Really. And I'm pretty sure that the crowns, I don't care which crown you talk about, have not held up their end of the deal at some point. So that's why I think it's important to remember that these oaths are symbolic in nature and are more of an intent and a goal, and not a contract to be used as a bludgeon. So if you look at it like that, so this is I am stating my goal. My goal is to run a marathon. If I don't succeed, I don't succeed. But if I don't succeed yet, I didn't succeed this time. So yeah, I may not run a marathon tomorrow, but I might in a month. I might in a year. And it's a goal that I'm working towards. So, maybe I'm not speaking and being silent appropriately now. But it is my promise, it is my goal to do that better. And I think that's one of the things that when we look at what it means to be a peer, which is probably a whole other conversation we should have on the stream, but since I are not one, it's harder. Maybe I should bring a couple peers on for that coffee chat. Maybe that'll be fun. But I think that's the goal. I think if we're striving towards that, and working active working to uphold those oaths, that's our goal as people, as populace, and as peers. That's the intent. So what does it mean, the SCA? Because that's I think the hot button question, and why is that a hot button question? So there's a couple things in the SCA when you look at Fealty. So there are the peers, Fealty. And I'm going to separate that out in just a second, because I realize that any peers watching just went, "Oh God, we don't all have to. It's okay." The knights specifically have to swear fealty, and I'm saying that for anyone who's not in the SCA watching this, or may watch this later. The order of chivalry is required to, by corpora, swear fealty to maintain their status. And I'll detail that in a moment. The laurels, pelicans, masters of defense are not. They may, but they are not required. Most of them do, as a group, they do. The officers of state, so any of the greater officers are required to. The landed baron and baronesses are required to. Now, so let's look at the peers for a second, and I'll give my opinions on that. And this may be where I get some fuss, but so in the SCA, the knights were created first and are a higher order in the SCA, in my opinion. This is not, wait, let me actually, the SCA considers them a higher order. They are an order above the other three. They should not be. But they are the most visible, they are the most tangential, they're the most cohesive of a group, and they're the only ones that are required for fealty. They also have the outward symbol of fealty, and that's the fealty chain. And I'm going to talk about my chain in a moment, because this, by the way, not a fealty chain, but a little bit is symbolically the same thing to me, and I'll get into that. But knights wear fealty chains. They wear a chain showing that they're in fealty to the crown, and it's a gold chain that shows they have sworn fealty. They have an outward symbol of that. Technically, the laurels and pelicans do as well. Most of them can use it or consider it, because they also can wear a gold chain on their medallion. And they have an option to, if they don't, they wear a ribbon instead. But that's at least that's in Meridia's. I will only speak to Meridian law. So my issue with that is that the knights are required to swear fealty, which means anybody who cannot swear fealty for religious or political reasons or whatever, which I know quite a few people who can't, cannot be a knight. Now, that doesn't mean they can't be a peer, and there is a peer that I'm aware of that maybe should be a knight, but is not, and is Pelican instead, because they cannot swear fealty. Or that's okay. And that's hold on. That's not the reason they're not a knight. There may be other reasons they're not a knight, but they cannot be a knight because they cannot swear fealty. They also can't. There's a couple of orders within our organization, within Meridia specifically, that they couldn't be a part of because they can't swear. Well, they can't swear oaths like that. And we have a Legion of the Bear in Meridia, which is a fighting war order. It requires an oath. There's an oath being sworn to it, and it's the same. It's a similar sort of sword oath thing. They also can't enter crown list because the crown list require you to swear the sword oath. And I think there are ways around that. And I think that's the thing we should all look at. So knights. Okay, so the knights are required to have fealty. Pelicans, orals, mods or not. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with non-equality, sort of across the board. Well, this is my old work shirt. But they did rainbow stuff at work. I was really happy with them. I hated it at work anymore. Good company. But I have a problem that knights have to swear fealty and the other peers don't, because it creates inequality. It literally puts the knights more so above the others, as in they are more important, they are more required, they are more whatever. And I think that creates an imbalance. I talked about power imbalance before, being peer and associate. I think that creates a power imbalance within the peerages. The knights have more power than the others, and we've actively seen that. And yes, Katrina, they can be masters of arms. However, so that's referring to knights can become masters of arms if they don't want to or can't swear fealty. Yes, that is technically an option. It is not an option that is easy or welcome or allowed in all places. So yes, Meridia's by our kingdom law has masters of arms, which is effectively a knight who did not swear fealty. In Onstiora, I know you cannot become a knight or a master. Like, you can't switch back and forth. You are one or the other. They're essentially separate peerages. They still vote together. They still have the same circles, but they are. You can become one or the other, but not both. Like, you can't halfway do that. And there's some knights that don't swear fealty to certain kings or queens, and they just don't wear. They can choose to do that and not wear their chain. For that reign. But there's some weird things about that. Like there's some weird gray area in there that I don't like to play with. But the point I was getting to was that if one group the knights is required to do something, then all groups, the Laurels, Pelicans, and Mods, should also be required to do something, or nobody should. And I think having things like that are requirements. I think it's a good idea to have it as a thing that is the goal, right? Again, we talked about that being the goal, and willing to uphold that oath is your active thing. And if you can, cool. And okay, in the SCA, we're all role playing like that. Tim is not the king of the world. He's not the king. He's not the king of this country. He's the king of a fictitious place in a fictitious time. But when Kalbardr shows up to an event or gets online and is doing stuff in the SCA world, he's my king, and I treat him as such. And it's that mindset that's there, right? So we're all role playing that. So he is that thing to me and is that symbol, and that's important. Um, but it's just a symbol. It's an ideal of a thing. So if for some reason somebody can't swear fealty or can't swear an oath to that particular thing, because that's how we're all sort of choosing to role play it, I think we need to be able to make accommodations for that, and make that it's about the intent of the oath. And there's ways to reword the oaths, and there's ways to adjust. There's ways to do that differently so that people can still participate in that way. But there's a lot of people that have not been as accommodating to that in the past. That's why I bring it up. When you make it a requirement and define that by corpora or by kingdom law or whatever, it becomes a lot more difficult to wiggle around and sort of worry about the ideals of it. It becomes the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, especially in today's very litigious society. So I think, things that need to get addressed is if you're going to have one group swear, require all groups should be required, or all periods rather, and all periods should have equal opportunity to wear that regalia. I think the chain of fealty is a heavy thing, is an important piece of regalia, and it's only knights are allowed to wear it, and I don't like that personally. I'm not a fan. And there's other things you can wear. The Slavic groups, the Nordic groups, they wore arm rings. It's sort of that were their fealty thing to their liege or their jarl or thing or whatever. I've seen neck rings. I've seen different. There's a whole bunch of different types of regalia that could be worn that are also those symbols of that fealty. In the SE, it's a gold chain, and that's the one we all recognize. So there's other ways to do that. So I said earlier that my chain wasn't a fealty chain. It's not. It is not by definition a fealty chain because it's not a gold chain. But so I made this chain when the whole Black Lives Matter thing kicked up recently, because that's not a new thing, but kicked up recently. Like 6 months ago now. But because it was important to me after hearing. So I heard in some Knights talk on Ask Knights Live, which anybody who's not busy Wednesday should come hang out and watch it play Wednesday, because we have a Baron Logan Path Warden coming with some friends to play dice, and that's gonna be fun. But he had a couple of nights. He had a night and a not night on his show. Count Seto and the real Black Panther Stelios, and they talked about this. They talked about the black chains and the ideas around that. And to me, it became an important symbol of an ally. So there's Black Lives Matter pins, and there's rainbow pride pins, and there's 100 different rainbow things you could wear, or black things you could wear, or whatever. The chain to me, because at the time it was Seto talking about it, and Seto being a knight wore chains, and that was just sort of his default state. So he just had a black chain. But then I realized well, it's not technically restricted. It's not a gold chain or a silver chain, Meridiace. So I know in the West, because Katrina's watching, I know in the West that they have any unadorned chain is restricted. So your mileage may vary out there. But the symbol of the chain was, I think, important to me. And I realized once I made it that the weight of the chain mattered. And so I sort of regret to bring that back up. When I put this chain on the first time, and the weight of it hit my neck, it was a reminder to me, and it continues to be a reminder to me of my oath to the people that are less, or that feel less, or that are being treated as less. So I am a very white, very male, very privileged person. I may be poor. I may not be the best. I may not be, the CEO, billionaire level white person. I am still better off than a lot of folks are, strictly because I'm white and male. So when I put this chain on and the weight hit my neck, I was reminded of that. And I was reminded to use that privilege for good instead of for evil. And I think that's the thing. So the weight of the chain, the weight of responsibility, the weight of that oath, and this applies to the oaths of fealty as well. That's why the chain is an important symbol, because it has weight. So and pelicans and laurels have medallions. Those medallions have weight. Even on a ribbon, they still have a weight to them. But what they don't have is a binding. They're not a bound thing. Symbolically, they are. Don't get me wrong. For those other peers watching, I'm not trying to discredit your period. I'm discredited. I'm trying to make points of the SCA, not upholding, not applying those things equally. I'm not discrediting your period. Just please don't think I am. I hope to one day be all those things. But the fact that they don't have the chains being a binding thing, a securing method, it makes them not equivalent. But the chain was a reminder. It really was. It became a thing for me to put on, and I wear this mundanely. I leave this house for any period of time. I have this on me, and out in public. And most folks out in the world aren't going to recognize what it is. They're going to see some dude wearing a black chain, whatever, cool. But those who know, or those who see it, I hope somebody sees it and realizes what it is, and can then use that to approach me. Can use that to say, hey, I need your help for something, or like to use it as a way to connect to me. And nothing else, it shows those in the SCA who I am and what I'm about. And I think that actually that transitions into a good point. By the way, if there's any questions, there's only a couple of you watching. It's a fairly small stream there. But for those of you watching, if you have questions or have comments about what I have to say, please do. I feed off the questions, so it's been kind of quiet there, so I've just been kind of rambling. But that brings up an interesting next point that I think feeds into this. So I am who I am. I am who I am. And when I get up, when I go to bed, when I'm at SCA events, when I'm not, there's really no difference. Kalbardr is Richard. Richard is Kalbardr. Honestly, Kalbardr is who I want to be in real life. Like it is my ideal state. The SCA is who I want to be in my real state. That's who I try to be. I think there's a lot of people who look at it that way as well. So there's a lot of people recently that have been like taking their SCA names off their profiles, or making separate profiles for their SCA personas, or making a page and a profile, because a lot of people have been getting attacked or getting targeted by the SCA, or targeted by groups in the SCA for their political opinions. Now, there's a lot of people who've also been using this as a crutch. I'm using it as a defense point, because, well, my SCA name is not on my profile, so I can say I want to, do X, Y, and Z and kill Antifas and, things. And you can't do anything about it, because I'm not, this John Smith is not Baron Jonicus Smithicus. Those are different people. And they're correct. It's a different person, but it's not. John Smith is Baron Jonicus Smithicus. They're the same. And if John Smith has opinions that are anti-people, bigoted, racist, transphobic, homophobic, quatrophobic, define your phobics. I have a problem with trans and homophobic, by the way. Phobic. You're not phobic, you're just an asshole. There's a difference. You're not homophobic, you're just an asshole. But that person doesn't change when he goes to an event, or when he puts his fancy hat on, or puts on his regalia, or he's still just as bigoted and racist. And I'm using he as a default. Sorry. He's just bigoted, just as racist, just as terrible a person. Doesn't change. But the SCA is sort of has currently taken a stance where if it's not at an event, or not within the confines of an event, or isn't representing the SCA, then they can't do anything about it. And a lot of people that are on the less or not racist, homophobic, bigoted, whatever side of that, have been attacked for their left-leaning stuff and have been attacked because they have their SCA names on their profiles. They're choosing to take them off. I won't do that. Unless I am told to by the SCA that I have to take it off, I won't. Because I am who I am. I am who I say I am. There's no difference. And if there's a problem with that, then it's an organization I don't need to be part of. All right. Hey, look, I've got a comment. So Jeannie says, as a Christian, she has been uncomfortable swearing fealty. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that have issues swearing fealty because of religion. Jehovah's Witnesses, Christians. I think honestly, most pagans I know don't, because there's nothing, it's realistically. So I am to get into some. By the way, I don't mind talking politics. I don't mind talking religion. I think we should do more of that. Actually, I think part of the problem is we don't do that anymore. We don't do it enough. Because talking about them and fighting about them are two very different things. My religious views are my own. My political views are my own. And they have nothing to do with you as a person out there. Also, human rights are not politics. So politics are defined as things that are, where we spend our money, how we, are we going to pay that road or this road today? Like, that's politics. Politics is not who gets to have rights and who doesn't. That's human rights shit. That's not even politics. Religion is a personal thing, and my religion doesn't affect you, or shouldn't affect you. I think that's the problem in our society currently, mundanely, is that people's religion is affecting their politics, and politics is becoming more about human rights than it is anything. But so as a Christian, you've been uncomfortable swearing fealty. I'm gonna guess that it's because that you think it takes away from your devotion to God or your devotion to your religion. And that's fine. And if you think that, perfectly comfortable, that's fine. Let me give you some since you say you're uncomfortable but not saying, damn it, I'm not doing it. Let me insight. In my opinion, nothing in the fealty oath should contradict your views as a Christian or your oaths to your God, or anything else. It's because, as I said earlier, that oath is to a thing. It is to an ideal. It is not to a person. And if you want to get super technical, it's only actually within the confines of the SCA. Because you were swearing fealty as your SCA persona. So what Kalbardr does doesn't affect Richard. If you want to get technical about it. I disagree with that personally, but if you want to get technical about it, you can. But to me, swearing fealty is because you're swearing to that ideal. Nothing in the ideals of the SCA contradict any of the Christian tenets, or in my case, Buddhist tenets, or pagan ideals, or hell, even satanic ideals. Like, I don't know. Church of Satan is actually a pretty easy group of people. And it's funny to say that the Church of Satan actually. I have run into more decent Satanists in my life than I have decent Christians, frankly. Not again. I have a lot of Christian friends, but like, it's really funny when you compare the two groups. Some of the one group is sometimes better than the other. It just cracks me up. But yeah, that oath shouldn't make you uncomfortable, because it's you more promising to yourself that you're going to do that thing. So I sworn 100 oaths in my life. I was a Boy Scout. I am a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. I swore oaths from the time I was 6 till 18-ish in that. I'm also a member of the Freemasons. We have an oath there as well. And the Freemason, there's an interesting piece on the Freemason oath, and I will not get into a lot of that, but there's an important part. remember what the exact like wording of it is. Basically the thing is that, or it says during one of the things that this oaths will not conflict with anything you have, with any of your duties to God or your country, essentially, to your God or to country. And you know, if you have to add that caveat to your fealty oath, cool. You know, we have so there is a default fealty oath. You're not required to wear that fealty oath, except in some circumstances. So change the fealty oath if you want to. Change it. Be something else. Nobody says you have to swear that one. That's the default Meridian one. So, you know, I, Kalbardr, do promise to do and let be, speak and be silent, pending it doesn't conflict with my religious views, to my Lord release me, death take me, or the world end. You know, add that in there. If it makes you comfortable, do it. If that's important to you, do it. Or you don't have to. Again, swearing fealty is not required unless you're a knight, which again, that's a problem. I think fealty should be optional across the board. I think fealty should be allowed across the board. I think fealty should be equally applied across the board. But if you're not comfortable with swearing fealty, that's fine. You're not required to. You can still uphold the same values. It's all role play at that point. I think the actual act of swearing fealty is an important part to me of a public affirmation of my goals. And I think goals are important. By the way, this is sort of a project manager thing for me. Goals are important. Tasks. I am a very goal task-driven person. Goals are important. Public goals are better. Public goals and deadlines are better. If I set a goal and write it on my, you know, in my brain, right now. Okay, just did it. What is it? You don't know. And you never will. So if I don't do that, who knows but me? But if I write that goal on my whiteboard, we have a whiteboard in our living room, and I put my daily tasks on what I'm gonna do for the day, so that me and Sifa and Kisa sort of all know what we're doing. I now have a public goal, and it may be, you know, I'm gonna vacuum the living room. Like it's not like I'm not like gonna run a marathon tomorrow, but like it's a public goal. They can now hold me accountable to that. And I can hold myself accountable to that, and I've made a public affirmation of that goal. And the more public that goal, the better, because we are driven by completion of a thing. We're driven by that recognition of a thing. And having others know we do it allows us to hold ourselves accountable for that. So if I say I'm going to run a marathon in a month, and put that on my Facebook, damn it, I'm doing that today. And then in a month, you guys all go, huh, Kalbardr didn't run his marathon. That's weird. I thought they were going to be. But I know that you know. I know somebody's watching me. I know somebody's being watched. My dad, my grandmother always said that integrity was what you did when somebody wasn't watching. So I always try to act like somebody is watching. Because it's you know, well, I was always told to, when I was doing a thing, was would I do it if my grandmother was sitting there? And admittedly, I've done things that my grandmother would not be proud of. But also, her and I had very different worldviews, so that's, you know, I'm sort of okay with some of that. But you know, so it's tough. It's tough, Jeannie. I don't know, and it's, everybody has to make the decision for themselves, and you know, that's why I think it shouldn't be required. But yeah, no, but religion has definitely been the biggest hick, or hitch in the giddy up, I guess, for fealty. Like I said, Jehovah's, I think it's Jehovah's Witnesses have the biggest issue because they can't. They are not, by their spiritual covenants, not allowed to. And it's because they can't. What was the wording she gave me? They're not allowed to swear oaths to a thing, and they can't make promises they cannot uphold, or that they have a chance of not upholding, something like that. Like they can't, you know. So the sort of the openness of the fealty oath is too open for them. Now, one of the things that that this person told me was that a thing they could do is swear to the public or to the populace to serve them to the best of their ability. Something, I'm paraphrasing here, but that was sort of the idea, was that I swear on my honor that I will serve the populace of Meridies to the best of my ability as far as I can, or something, it's kind of thing. Because it gives them an out, essentially. Because they can't fail, I think, is the idea. And if I'm wrong, the person in question, if you're watching, or somebody else knows, please let me know. But I'm sort of paraphrasing and guessing at some of this, and that works too. Hey, that's what you got to do to make to get the point, but still participate. Cool, do that. And if you're one of those people, if you're a landed baron or becoming a peer or becoming a greater office, and that's important to you, talk to people. Talk to the crown, talk to the seneschals, talk to the people involved, and most of them will accommodate you if you talk to them. If you don't talk to them, they can't, because they're going to go to the default state if you don't. So. And that is an empty cup. So, closing thoughts. Fealty's awesome. Swear it if you can. Try to uphold those values. I think that's an important part of becoming being a member of the populace, becoming a peer. If you can't, for whatever reason, talk to people involved. Talk to your crown. Cool. Find your accommodation. If you don't want to or don't like it, then no. That's cool too. Not required. But if you do, honestly, even if you do, but especially even if you don't, try to pull the values of that. So we have a core tenets and values in the SCA that I think we should read more often and tattoo into our brains. And they're no different than most religious values, most moral values. Be less shitty. Be good to each other. It's just not hard. With that being said, I am going to sign off. Okay. If anybody who's hanging out wants to hang out a little bit longer, in about an hour, about 1 o'clock my time, I'm going to be teaching a class, actually, Who Were the Scythians? So it's an intro level class. I should have taught yesterday morning, but I slept through because my alarm did not go off. So I'm going to make that today. Also, shout outs to people and things I watch. Thursday, Ask the Knights. Friday, Between Two Peers. Look both those up. Like I said, Logan will be on my show Wednesday. And then, of course, Wednesday, we have What You Playing Wednesdays. We're doing Dice this week with Baron Logan and friends. And then hopefully in a couple weeks, we'll have Between Two Peers folks showing up. Also, look up Outlands Royalty. Is a new show that just started by the King Queen of the Outlands. And I am there floating head in the background running tech for them. So that's been a lot of fun getting to hear some of the royal gossip in the background. Look that up on Facebook. It's every other Saturday. So that'll be fun. And so I look forward to talking to you all. Probably going to take next week off for coffee. I think we do like 2 on, 1 off probably. But if I come up with something, let me know. Or I may do that. If you have a question for me, I love feedback. I love hearing what you guys think. So send me questions either via my private Facebook or via the Kalbardr Corner Facebook. Leave comments on the video, ask questions, and I'll be happy to address them in future talks. So this has been Kalbardr in Kalbardr's Corner. Thanks, guys.